All right, let's begin. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for attending Jopwell Talks. Welcome to Building a Career Roadmap. I hope you've already been learning a ton of information from our speakers and our employers tonight and are ready to learn even more during this session. My name is Maxine Mitchell, and I'm a client success lead here at Jopwell, and tonight I'll be walking you through building a career roadmap. Before we jump into our agenda, I'd like to give you a brief intro. I graduated from Duke with a bachelor's in English in May 2010, 10 years ago, in the middle of a recession with no job. After graduation, I immediately jumped into hustle mode, sending emails out to universities throughout the New York City area and hoping that I would have an opportunity to work with student athletes. I was able to secure a brief summer internship at Fordham less than 2 months later, and with the help of a headhunter, I also secured my first full-time role that month. And the rest is a long history. In terms of actual jobs, I've worked within K through 12 education, higher education, the corporate world, the nonprofit space, and attended grad school before the age of 30. Before joining Jopwell in 2018, I worked as an undergraduate career coach, meeting with students every single day to help them navigate existential crises, career questions, and anything in between. If anyone is equipped to tell you about building a career roadmap, it's me. While there will be some time set aside at the end of the presentation for questions, please feel free to ask them throughout using the chat function on the right-hand side of the screen. So let's get started. During tonight's talk, we'll be covering the following. So the first is going to be actually defining what a roadmap is. Then next we have crafting your own career roadmap. Then putting that career roadmap to work and figuring out the actual steps that you'll need to take. Next we have discovering your career roadmap secret ingredient. Then we'll review what we've covered today. I'll share some additional pieces of advice, and then we'll open things up for questions. All right, awesome. So I could easily go directly into breaking down a sample career roadmap, but I thought providing you with a broad definition of a roadmap seemed like a great place to begin. So what is a roadmap? A roadmap is a strategic plan that defines a goal or a desired outcome, the why behind that goal, and then the major steps or milestones needed to actually reach that goal. So let's shift to the topic at hand, your career roadmap. We know that a roadmap has a desired outcome, a destination, a why, and steps to take. Another way to think about this is defining the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So first we have the what. And in this particular case, the what would be your desired goal or outcome, right? So it would be either an internship or a full-time job opportunity. The where would be your destination. And here I've said forward, mainly because we have no idea how our careers will manifest and where we'll end up, but we hope that we'll be moving forward in a direction that we're both excited about and encouraged about. So next we have your why, right? So that's the broader vision for your career. So whether it's guiding others, solving problems, amplifying the voices of the voiceless, it's your personal why. So think about, what is really guiding your overall career. So for me, my why is guiding and helping people to the next step of their lives. So whether that be their careers, whether that be high school, which was my first full-time job, whether that be college, which was my job right before Jopwell, all of the things that I do are really underscored by my why, which is guiding and helping people. So for you, it's figuring out what is that broader thing that's getting you interested in opportunities. Next up, we have the when and the how. So that's the steps that you'll take to get to your desired destination. So this is really the nitty-gritty of the roadmap. So it's what needs to happen, when does it actually need to happen, and how does it happen? And then lastly, Who, right? So aside from you, of course, it would be the people that are supporting you in your journey to that desired destination. So none of us can do this alone, right? We need friends, we need mentors, we need career coaches or career development professionals as a whole, and a ton of other people as we move through our careers. Great, so we've broken down what a career roadmap is. It's time to put it to work. We know where we're going, we know why we're going there. Let's figure out what in the world we're doing to get there, right? So I'm sure there are a number of questions that people have, right? Some of them I put here. So I'm a college sophomore, right? What milestones do I need to hit this year, or what milestones should I already have hit in my freshman year, right? Who should I be connecting with for support? So we spoke about people. And, what if I'm struggling to identify what industries or roles I'm interested in? And that's something that I heard from freshmen, I would say even past senior year, definitely from alums as well. People need to know who to go to if they're struggling, or the resources that they should use to figure out what to do when they're struggling. So I decided to fully break this down by each year of your undergraduate experience to make it super easy for you to think about what steps you actually need to take. So there are action items for each year of your undergraduate experience, and these items build upon one another, and then they'll hopefully lead you forward to your desired destination. So let's look through some of the action items that I've included here. So one thing that you can see is that throughout the 4 years, or even more, because most people spend more than 4 years in college, career exploration is absolutely there. It's not something that I think people should just do in their freshman or sophomore year. You should always be thinking about exploring careers, exploring what it is that you're interested in, what it is that you're not interested in order to figure out what your next step is going to be. But let's start with freshman year. Some of the things that I've included here are going to the academic advising office, as well as your career center for some guidance on discovering majors and minors, discovering career interests, and then thinking about potential career paths. Other things are, attending career fairs. This is a great opportunity to do as a freshman. There likely won't be very many opportunities that you'll be able to directly apply for immediately, but there will be a chance for you to express interest. Something that I loved as a corporate recruiter, which was my second job in my career, was going to career fairs, seeing students as freshmen, and then I came back, 2 or 3 years down the line, and some of those same students came to the fair again, right? And were able to actually express interest and be able to apply and hopefully secure opportunities. So I definitely think, particularly now while things are virtual, attend those career fairs and get some face time with employers. I also have, working on your first undergraduate resume and cover letter in order to make sure that those are ready to go for opportunities that you're looking for now, as well as future opportunities. And then lastly, I have, participate in clubs and organizations and extracurricular activities, and overall have fun, right? Really enjoy your freshman year while you're doing all of this exploration and discovery. So for sophomore year, again, career exploration, but you actually now have an opportunity to apply for and attend those early engagement programs. You can develop that overall networking strategy to be able to connect with current students as well as employers. You can apply for roles on career platforms, which I'll speak about in a little bit. And then you can also start to figure out what are those things that you like and those things that you dislike from courses that you've taken, from extracurricular activities, as well as internships and jobs. During sophomore year, particularly sophomore spring, is when you are declaring your major. So one thing that I put here is subject to change, because lots of people's majors change multiple times while they are in college, but this is an opportunity to start to think about what a potential career path could look like with the major that you've selected, or multiple majors that you've selected. For your junior year, again, these items build on one another. So you're continuing to attend those career fairs. You're continuing to apply for opportunities via career platforms. You're also meeting with academic advisors and career coaches if you find that you'd like to make some changes with the majors that you've selected or career paths that you're thinking about. I've also included here, if you are able to secure that internship, and hopefully you are by using this roadmap, you want to maximize that internship because it will hopefully turn into a full-time opportunity. So you do that by active listening, by performing at a high level, by networking internally and starting to make those connections. And then hopefully your full-time job search process ends there. And so you're able to secure that full-time offer. But if you're not, most seniors are looking for jobs. And so you spend a good chunk of the time during that year preparing for and actually embarking on your job search. So have those materials reviewed by a career coach or by folks in your career services office, conduct mock interviews and get that practice, and then also apply for opportunities. And here you want to continue networking, right? So I'll speak about that in a little bit as well, but you want to really flex that networking muscle, right? It's something that you're doing while you're in college, and then you will continue to do that throughout your career. And one piece I included here is also giving back, right? So all of the work, that I've mentioned here in terms of connecting with current students, talking to them about their own experiences, now as a senior and definitely as a junior as well, it's your opportunity to provide that guidance to students who may be just starting out in their career roadmap. Okay, so we've talked about the what, we've talked about the where, we've talked about the when and the how, right? We've covered almost everything from the original career map breakdown, but what's missing? People are missing, right? So people are your career roadmap secret, and I would say ridiculously underrated ingredient, right? People can be resources, and people can also connect you to resources. We all need people. So students need people as they're navigating their careers, and then professionals definitely need them, as they're thinking about how to navigate a much broader world and basically all of the career options that you can think of. Right? And so people can manifest in a number of different ways. All right, so the 3 ways that I've outlined here, one would be building your network. So I've mentioned it already again and again, thinking about networking as something that you begin way before your first full-time job, right? So you are connecting with current students to learn about their experience. You're connecting with alums to figure out how they navigated their internship and job search processes, as well as their broader careers, right? You're connecting with professionals, right? So folks that you may not even know, but you're interested in learning about their industry or their roles or what makes their companies unique. Right, next would be visiting career services. So this is a super shameless plug, but it's one that I have to make, right? So even now, during a pandemic, when lots of things may be virtual, your career center or your career services office is an immensely valuable resource, right? So meet with the folks that work there to guide you through exploration, but also to review your documents prior to submitting any applications. You can also conduct mock interviews there, especially right now where everything is virtual. This is a great opportunity for you to get that real world practice, right? So you're able to actually practice doing virtual mock interviews with them. And then you can take assessments for more clarity on what it is that you're interested in, what motivates you and why. So for example, some of the assessments that I used to work on with students would be the MBTI or the career leader assessment, right? So these will give you a great opportunity of maybe the way that you approach problems or the way that you approach tasks, but also what you're interested in, what motivates you, right? Are there particular career paths that seem like they would be a great fit for you? So taking advantage of the assessments that are offered at your career services office can provide you with a lot more clarity than you could, simply doing research on your own. And then lastly, I would say using career platforms. So leveraging those platforms. You did that today, and that allows you to participate in an awesome event like this one, like Jopwell Talks. But you can also utilize platforms to connect you to people, to connect you to resources, and then obviously internship and job opportunities. So some examples of that would be obviously Jopwell. Handshake would be another example, as well as LinkedIn. So for all of these, ensure that your profile is fully up to date. In the cases where they need a resume, like we do at Jopwell, make sure that a recent resume is attached because employers are utilizing platforms in order to find you. And so you want to make sure that you've provided them with the most up-to-date information. And then of course, you can browse and apply for internship and job opportunities directly there and find out if you've been selected for interviews, hopefully go on those interviews and then secure those offers that you're looking for. So let's review some of the things that we've covered today. So building your career roadmap means, outlining where you're going, what you're hoping to achieve, and also outlining the steps that you need to take to get there, as well as who's going to help you along the way. Your overall career, so if you think about your goals, your interests, and even the roles themselves, are all subject to change, right? But the components of your roadmap will stay the same. So people who build fruitful careers use their roadmaps to guide their behavior, but they also remain adaptable and flexible to all the possibilities that can be put in front of them. So I'd like to leave you with a few bits of advice before we answer, any questions that folks have. And the first bit of advice is one of my favorite quotes, and it is, "If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready." And so in other words, that means always be prepared, right? So keep that resume updated, keep browsing roles, even if you're not going to apply for them, or even if you're not going to interview, to review those job descriptions, and keep networking with individuals, right? So you never know when somebody can connect you to an opportunity or connect you to another person who can connect you to an opportunity. And the main thing is you never know when opportunities will be presented directly to you. But if you're prepared, you'll be much more poised to actually take advantage of them, or at least be able to review them and see if they fit with what you're hoping for. Then I would say prioritize action over perfection. So in many cases, perfectionism can lead to procrastination, right? Which can lead to you missing out on opportunities. So I would say, obviously, you want to ensure that your documents are great and good to go, but don't feel like you have to wait until you meet exactly 100% of all of the qualities or requirements that are listed on a job description to go ahead and apply. I would say prioritize that action, prioritize applying before being a perfect candidate. Again, I would say embrace flexibility, right? So don't be afraid to shift your goals or your interests as you learn things, as you experience new things, and as you make mistakes, right? So there are things that you're going to learn by actually going through internships, going through full-time roles that will let you know, hey, I don't need to do this again, right? And so that means you can make a shift and you don't have to do it again, right? But you need to be flexible in order to allow yourself to move in a different direction. And then don't forget to introspect, right? So figure out what it is that you're really interested in. Continue to ask yourself lots of questions. You can get support with this, so a career coach may be able to provide you some support there, or even talking to a friend can help, right? In order to go where you'd like to go, you have to know where you'd like to go, right? So, and also in order for people to help you, they also need to know where you'd like to go. So this is where people come in again, but it really does require that introspection in order for you to have that information. This is the piece of advice I really love because it means moving away from that "what would you like to be when you grow up" question, right? So when we were kids, we loved this, right? It gave us an opportunity to be really imaginative. And I find that by the time that we get to college, or students who are going through that undergraduate experience, that becomes a really weighty question, right? A question that causes people to freak out. Right? So rather than thinking about, what you'd like to do 40 years down the line, right? Think about what you'd like your first step to be, or what you'd like your next step to be. So some questions that you can ask yourself are, what are the skills that I need to build, right? What are those areas that I need to work on in order to pursue a particular role? Who do I need to speak with, or who do I need to share my goals with or my interests with in order for me to get closer to them? And another question is, what do I need to read, right? What information do I need to look up in order for me to figure out what makes sense as a next step? And then lastly, this is one of my favorite quotes from Oprah, and hopefully, this will be helpful for you as you're thinking about, approaching your own career and your career planning. And what she says is that the way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, oh, I got all of this to figure out, right? So not thinking about what do I want to be when I grow up, right? What is the next right move? And then from there, make the next right move, and then the next one, right? So it's not being overwhelmed with trying to figure out the totality of your life. It's what is that next step, and how can you make that one the most exciting one? How can you make that one the most strategic one? And then the full career that you put together is one that you'll be excited about because you've thought about it more strategically, rather than getting bogged down by that larger and broader question that can be really overwhelming. So that's all I got, friends. I hope you were able to learn some information that will help you in your internship and your job searches, as well as your broader career and life. So time for the fun stuff. Let's get into your questions. All right, someone has asked a great question. So they've said, what would you recommend on how to reach out to your personal network without feeling like you're asking for too much? So one thing that I would say in general with networking, the reason that people are really hesitant about it is because they think, one, like everyone reaches out to everyone all the time, which simply isn't true. And the reason I say that is because there are much more people who are like, I'm afraid to reach out to people, right? So since there's so many people who are afraid to do it, most people aren't doing it. So I would say, think about what it is that you would like from that particular person. So if it's advice, if it's, connecting to someone else, if it's information about a specific job opportunity, think about what you would like from that person. And then also think about what you could potentially be able to provide to them. So if it's information, if it's something about an article that you've read, if it's just being able to connect and share career stories, going into anything, I think it's about being really goal-oriented. So knowing why you're speaking to a particular person, having a sense of that even before you speak to them, and then, mapping out any questions or any prompts before you actually talk to that person. And then I would say, keep the message very short and sweet. So we tend to like warm reach outs, more than cold ones. So, if the person is an alum, if you know them through a family member, if you know them through a current student or a former student, being able to make that connection really quickly, and then saying, you would like to schedule some time to speak, to chat about XYZ, and, seeing if they have availability. So I would say you want to make sure that it's short. You want to get directly to the point so that they're able to see it really quickly. And then from there, you just say, if they answer, great. If they don't, great, right? And so really the goal is to establish quality connections rather than a large quantity. So it just may take a little while. You're so welcome. Any other questions? Hopefully this was helpful to folks. I really do enjoy working with college students, helping them navigate their careers, and also helping them understand that, you don't have to figure out your entire life in the 4+ years of college. Many of us have been out of college for a long time and are still trying to figure out life. And so I try to remind students of that all the time. But really, this roadmap is helpful to provide you, with some steps and some guidelines of things that you can do during each of those years, so you at least feel like you're working towards a broader goal. Any other questions from the class? Oh, this is a good question. So, navigating imposter syndrome, as you're applying for opportunities when you may not fit all the criteria. So, I would typically say, if you're looking at a role and you meet, anywhere from 70 to 80% of the qualifications, I would say go ahead and apply. And the reason why I say that is, if you don't apply, you've already told yourself no. If you do apply, someone could potentially tell you yes, right? They could say no, but you could also say no and never possibly get a yes. So I would always say, if it's a place that you're really interested in, if there's some research that you can do to ensure that, your application is really strong, even though you don't meet all of those qualifications, I would still go ahead and apply. Another thing to note is, don't point out, that you don't necessarily meet all of the qualifications, because sometimes I see people doing that in, cover letters and saying, well, despite the fact that I don't have XYZ, this is why, you should consider me. I would always say, don't do that, right? What you want to point out is, that you're excited to be able to learn and grow. These are the skills that you do have. This is how they can be applied to the role and why you think you would be a great fit for it. But sometimes it's just going to be honestly pushing through that imposter syndrome, right? And that's something where, you may be doing that while you're in college, and you may continue to do that while you're a professional, right? And it just takes that practice and dealing with the fact that as part of a job search, rejection is part of that. And sometimes you just have to push through it. But my recommendation would be is that if you're meeting, anywhere from 70 to 80%, go for it. That's a great question. Thank you, Cindy. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you all so much for joining tonight's workshop. I hope you were able to learn some information that's helpful to you, whether you're in your undergraduate career or well past it, like I am. And I hope you enjoyed participating in this evening's event. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks so much.